What's up guys, welcome to new Unreal Engine 5 tutorial. Today we are continuing with the RPG series, and in this episode we'll create the main menu and also the pause menu. It is going to be a very easy video to follow, so let's get started. Alright, so first of all, before starting with the actual episode, there's one thing that I want to quickly fix, and that, has been for a long time, and it's the sprinting system, okay? So if right now I hold the Alt key, which is the one that we have for sprinting, as you can see, it runs out. If I stop, it's fine, it generates once again, and I can sprint once again. But what happens if it gets to 0? Well, it gets to 0, it recovers, but I cannot sprint anymore. And there's only one small little thing that we need to add in order to sprint again. I know that a lot of you already found the solution, but let's quickly cover this. So let's open up the third person folder, blueprints, and open up the third person character blueprint. And as you can see, in all of our systems, we have the stamina system in the event tick, and here we check if we are not longer sprinting, and if we have, not been sprinting. And then we increase the stamina, and on here, what we are going to do is go ahead and get the can sprint variable and set it to true. And now with that, we have it fixed. So now if we press play, we can sprint. As you can see, we can stop sprinting, it will recover, and then we can sprint again. And then if we run out all the stamina, you will see, there you go, stops, and then boom, I can sprint again. So there we go, that's fixed. There we go, quick and easy. So now we can actually get started with the actual episodes. So the first thing that I want to do is create the main menu, okay? So for this, let's begin creating the UI, okay? So the widget itself. So let's go to the UI folder, and in here, let's right click, user interface, widget blueprint, user widget. Let's name this something as WB underscore main menu, and let's open this up. So on here, what we need to do is in the palette, search for a canvas panel, add it into the hierarchy, and now we can, place things on our widget. So the first thing that we want to do is add a, main menu text, kind of up here, okay? So let's drag in a text. Let's set the anchor to be at the top middle, and then we're gonna set the position X and Y to be 0, 0, so it'll be centered. Now this, as you can see, has the corner up here, so what we can do is add an offset on here on the alignment to be 0.5 and 0.5, and now it'll be on the middle. So now it's a bit easier. So now let's also make this bigger, so maybe like, I don't know, 350, and I don't know, 250, right? Oh, that's way too much. Maybe 100. And now what we can do is go down to the font settings, set the justification to be at the center, and then increase the size to, I don't know, 55. I think that will work. And then we can put here, I don't know, main menu, right? So we know that is the main menu. We can expand a bit the size X to 425, right? Of course, if you already have a game name or title, whatever you want to add, go ahead. In this case, it's just a YouTube series, so there's not really a name for a game. Now what we can do is just get the size, but position Y, and just increase this so we can drop it around here, okay? So now we have this main menu text right, at the top center of the screen, and now what we need to do is basically add some buttons. So to arrange them correctly, let's search for this vertical box. Let's drag it, and also let's go to the anchors and set it to be at the center, okay? Then once again, the X and Y positions will be set to 0, and the alignment we're gonna add 0.5, 0.5, so it has an offset and it will be in the center. And then we just need to get the size X and Y is increase it, right? So it will fit, and kind of like this will work, okay? So now what we need to do is drag in some buttons. So let's go ahead and just drag this button inside of the vertical box. You can see in the hierarchy, it is as a child, okay? That's very important. Now let's rename this to be something as the, play button, something like that. And then what we want to do is go ahead and add a text inside as a child of this button. As you can see now, it has a child of not the vertical box, but the button. And now what we can do is change the text to be what it needs to be, which in this case is play. You can put it in all caps, with your own font, whatever you want. You have all the options here. In this case, let's make this a bit bigger, maybe like, I don't know, 35, and that's a bit better. And then let's select the button, and what I am going to do is change a bit of the colors so they are more of, you know, of our RPG series style, right? More of this kind of orangey yellowish theme, right? Because that's really the theme colors of the RPG series. Now for normal it will be with that color, but for hovered it will be a bit more, let's say, darker, or we can also go the opposite and it's more, you know, let's say brighter. So let's go with brighter. Okay, so when you hover it will be like more outlined, and then we can go into pressed and go with kind of fully more, you know, white, which is like, hey, you're pressing this button. And then with that we can also go to the vertical box and increase a bit the size X so the buttons extend a bit more. Then with that we can use select the play button, press Ctrl D to duplicate it, and this will be, for example, the options button, right? And then we can add some padding, so we can put some on the top, like, I don't know, 20, 25. You can play around, and the only thing that we need to do is select the text and, you know, just change this to be whatever it is, which is options. And then once again, let's duplicate this. This will be, for example, exit, right? And of course not in all caps on here. Okay, if I know how to spell this. So there we go. And now as a child we're gonna change this to be, you know, exit in all caps. And as you can see now, we indeed have this really cool pause menu with all of the buttons. So, you know, of course you can customize this as you want. You know, you can spend more time to leave it neat. You can add proper button icons, you can change the font and so on, but in my case this will pretty much work for me. So now what we need to do is create a new level and add this widget, and also create a new game mode, because we don't want to spawn our player character or anything like that we have set as our default third person game mode, right? It has to be a complete different game mode because there's not gonna be a player character. So let's go to content and let's go to file, new file, and let's select basic create. Okay, so on here what we need to do now is change a bit of the things because we need to create a new game mode. So for this, let's go into our blueprints folder, right click, create a new blueprint class, and now, you know, what we can do is select this game mode base, and now we can create a new game mode class for a single player. Let's call this something as GM, standing for game mode underscore, and then just main menu. And now if we open this up, the only thing that we need to change is the default pawn class to be set as none, so the player will not spawn. As you may know, the default pawn class is the player blueprint. If we set this to none, it will not spawn any player. And now let's go to wall settings, dragging this new game mode, and what we're going to do is enter in our game mode blueprint, and on the event graph in the gameplay, we can delete the thing. Let's go ahead and create the widget, right? So let's create this WB main menu widget, which should be here it is, and then we can also add it to the viewport, and now we will be able to see it when we press play. But of course, you know, there's no players, so we're just seeing kind of the center of the level, and it doesn't look very good. So what we can do instead is go into the quickly add to the project section, go to all classes, and then with the mouse over this list we can start to type camera, and now we can search for the camera actor, drag it, and then kind of, you know, reset its location, go put a bit, you know, upper like this, and, you know, kind of go down and set the auto active for player to be player 0, and then if we press play we have that camera view. Now you can see that there's some black bars. We can get rid of that by just unchecking the constraint aspect ratio. As you can see, we have the main menu done, which looks pretty cool. Now it is not completely done. First of all, what I am going to do is save the level. So let's go to levels and let's name this thing something as main menu. And then this background looks pretty boring, right? We just have a basic floor and some clouds. So what I am going to do is copy the landscape desert, so it looks pretty cool. So for this, what I am going to do is go to levels, open up the desert level, and basically I am going to copy some actors from the outliner. Okay, in this case it will be the landscape, some post-processing effects, a bit of the lighting, and some things that we need. Okay, and with that we should be good. So first of all, let's begin by just copying the landscape. In this case, as you can see, we have this really cool landscape folder which contains all of what we need. So let's just go ahead and select everything, press copy or Ctrl+C, go to the main menu level, if of course it doesn't crash, and then select the outliner and go ahead and paste. Now it might kind of freeze the editor for some seconds because it is copying a whole landscape, and it's pretty big. And now, as you can see, we have it here. So there we go. Now there's some things that we need to change about the lighting and post-processing that we'll replace in a second. But first of all, let's get the player start deleted, get the camera actor and put it up, so at least we start to get the view, and also make sure to save. And as you can see now, it looks a bit better, but of course horrible. So first of all, let's go ahead and select all of the lighting folder and delete it. Delete also the main folder. Save, go to the desert, and now what we need to do is copy the lighting from the desert, which is actually the one that we want. So let's go and expand this, select everything, okay, including the folder, Ctrl+C, go to the main menu, and then paste. As you can see now, wow, this looks way better. If we press play, now we actually have this really cool desert going on. As you can see, you can play around with the camera to get what you want, but I think that this looks pretty cool, honestly. I mean, yeah. So another thing that I have to do is center a bit the buttons and the text. It's a bit more at the top part of the screen. So for this, let's go here, select the vertical box, and let's change the size Y to use fit in, right? In this case, something like this. And then we're gonna get the main menu, change the anchor to be at the center, and then go and change the position Y to be lower. And why did we change the anchor? Well, as you can see now, it is actually closer to this anchor at the middle than on the top. So I actually position it a bit better. If I press play, you can see that we now have it perfectly centered, which is really cool. So things are working out. It looks really nice, and we have pretty much our game mode set, but we cannot actually click any buttons. So what we're going to do is go to the game mode and change some parameters. So let's right click, get the player controller, and let's change a bit of the input over here. So with this, we're gonna set show mouse cursor so we can see our mouse in the screen, and then we need to set the input mode to be game and UI only. And now with that said, we can drag in this widget that we want to focus on, and now we can actually click buttons and so on. Now, very important, we need to make sure that when we go to our actual game mode, the other input is being set, which is hiding the mouse and so on. In this case, as you can see, we're not doing it in the either in the game mode or in the third person character. So let's do it in the game mode. Let's add a begin play, and let's do the complete opposite, right? Get the player controller, set show mouse cursor to be false, and then also we'll set the mode to be game only. And now with that said, we can go to our normal game mode, and we'll see the mouse and everything. We will not see it basically, because if I now press play, load the other level, we will still have our mouse. So this kind of fixes that issue that we might have. So now with that said, there's two things that we need to do, and it's basically when we press play, load our desert level, and then when we press exit the game. And then for options, we're gonna leave it blank for now, okay? So for now, let's go to the main menu widget. We can delete other stuff, go to the graph, and as you can see, we can delete everything except for the buttons. Now, very important, if you don't see some variables with the buttons, make sure to select them and click is variable. Now with that said, we're going to select the play button and add the onClicked event. So when we click it, what will happen? Well, we will go ahead and open a level by name. What level would it be? Well, desert. Now, it has to be exactly the same name that, you know, our level has, which in this case is the desert. So if you want to copy and paste it, I recommend that. And then for exit, let's add the onClicked event once again, and this will basically call quit game, and this will basically, you know, exit the game. So now with that said, this should work. If I now press play, we are here, and if I press exit, we exit the game, and if I press play, it will kind of freeze for 1 second, and boom, we are back in the game. There we go, looking really cool, and we can do all of our missions and quests that we have with all of our cool fortress. You can see in the distance, oasis, and explore, and do a lot of cool stuff. Now, really cool, we have the main menu going ahead and working, but now what we need to do is the pause menu. So let's go ahead and do that. Now, to make it actually easier, I'm gonna reuse a lot of things. We are going to copy this kind of, you know, two components, which is the text and the vertical box with some buttons, because it's gonna be very similar, right? We're gonna have, you know, paused, it will be like resume, options, and exit. So it's pretty much the same thing. So let's just literally go ahead and select this, Ctrl-D to duplicate it, and rename this to be WB, I don't even know how to speak, pause menu. Let's open this up, and the first thing I'm going to do is go to graph and delete these two things, because, well, that will not happen. And let's go back to the designer. I'm gonna change the, you know, text to be paused, okay? And then on play, this will be a bit different. So first of all, let's rename the button to be resume, and then the text to be resume, and then options will stay as it is, and then exit, well, this will be main menu button, okay? Because, well, we'll return to the main menu. There we go. Now with that said, what I am going to do is create this pause menu when we press escape. So for this, let's go to our third-person character blueprint, but let's make sure to create a new input key, right? So let's go to the input actions, right click, go to input action, IA underscore, and this will be, you know, something as pause menu, and then we're gonna leave everything as default, okay? But very important, okay guys, and this is very important, we want to enable trigger when paused, because we will set the game to be paused, and if not, we cannot close the pause menu because it will not detect the input. So this has to be enabled, okay? With that said, we're ready to go. Let's go ahead and add it into the collection. There we go. It will be the pause menu, and we can add the escape key. There we go. With that said, now I'm gonna go back to the third-person character blueprint. Open this up. We're gonna find a spot, I don't know, over here. Right click, go and find the escape. Sorry, not escape, but pause menu. Input action. There we go. And then on here, we're gonna expand and get it started, because we only want to trigger it once when we start to press the button. And what this will do is check if, you know, we have the game paused. So we can get game paused is paused. Okay, it doesn't matter. First of all, let's begin by creating the widget, okay? Because I think that we cannot get if the game is paused, we can only set it. So it doesn't matter, we can start to create the widget, which in this case is the pause menu. Okay, so when we, you know, press the escape key, we'll create a new widget, and then we're gonna go ahead and just add this to our viewport, okay? Now, what happens if we already have it created? Well, in this case, we'll need to do the opposite, right? Basically, close it. So for this, let's create a new variable, which will be game paused, okay? And we are going to set this to be true, the first thing, okay? But, of course, this will be if the game is not Boolean, so it is not already paused. If it is, it will go through here. I will go ahead and set the game to not be paused anymore, and then we're gonna go ahead and get this, and then do a remove from parent. So it will go ahead and delete the widget. And then with that said, what we want to do is one more thing, which is going to be setting the game to be paused. So you can see set game paused. We have a you know, a variable from Unreal. It is not the one that we just created, it's different. So let's enable this, and here let's paste this, let's disable this, and now you can see that if I go and, you know, change of levels, because right now I'm in the main menu level, and let's go to the desert level, wait it until it loads, press play, there we go, and I press escape. As you can see, the game is paused. I cannot move or anything like that. The game is paused, and now I can press escape again and go back to normal. So we need to see the keys, right? The input has to be changed. So I'm gonna do exactly the same that we did with the main menu game mode and the single player game mode. When we get the player controller, change the set show mouse cursor and the mode. So because we have already done it, I'm gonna set you a challenge, okay? I want you to go ahead and implement that. So if we are opening the pause menu, set the show mouse cursor to be true and the mode to be game and UI. And if we are closing the game mode, it will be set show mouse cursor to false and then use game mode only. So go ahead, you know, go ahead and do the challenge, and let's cover this in a second. Okay, so for this, well, first of all, when we, you know, open up the pause menu, let's right click, get the player controller, and then we are going to set show mouse cursor to be true, because we want to show our mouse to click on things. And then we're gonna set the mode to be game and UI, okay, because that's what we want. And then the widget and focus will be this one. It doesn't require it, but I like to, you know, plug it in. And then for this, let's get the player controller once again, because we are closing this pause menu, and this will be set show mouse cursor, which will be set to false because we don't need it anymore, and then set the mode to be game only, because, well, now we want to go back to our game inputs and so on. And now this will work if I go ahead and press play, press escape, I can see my mouse, I can click on things, and then press escape again, and we're back to normal. So now we also need to be able to interact with some things. Now don't worry about those errors, that was because we were on pause, don't worry. But what we need to do is make sure that we can click those buttons to resume or to go to the main menu. So for this, let's go to the UI, which is pause menu, and then on here, go to the graph, and then on the resume, we're gonna add on clicked event, and we are going to go ahead and get the player character, okay? Get the player character, cast to our blueprint, and then we're gonna run an event which will basically close the UI. How are we going to do this? We'll go to third person, right click, custom event, and this will be close pause menu. And then with that, we can just plug this here, and then we can just call this event from our widget. So it'll be like close pause menu. And with that, we are good to go. And then we just need one more thing, which is going to be the main menu button unclicked, and we're gonna just open level by name. What level it will be? Well, it will basically be main menu. Now, just in case, what I am going to do is add the set game pause to be false, because maybe when we return to the game to the main menu level, the game is paused and it doesn't look good. So just unpause it before we go. And now if we press play, as you can see, I can go press pause, resume, we go back to normal, or press pause, press escape, we go back to normal, or press pause, go to the main menu. And boom, there we go, we have our main menu loaded. Yeah, don't worry about the shadows, it's just really about the editor. And with that said, we are pretty much good to go. Of course, you can improve everything, but I am going to do one thing, which is going to go to the designer and get an image as a background. So now I can just click on anchors, holding Ctrl, presses full screen, mode, put the tint to be, kind of darker, and then the alpha to be kind of maybe 0.5, and then put this to be, named as background, and put it at the top. So it will be kind of behind everything. And then with that said, what I am going to do is get some blur, okay, because it looks pretty nice. So let's get some blur and do exactly the same thing. Open anchors, holding control, press this full screen button and add some blur strength of, I don't know, maybe 3, and then put this at the top, right? Because if not, it will go ahead and, you know, blur all the buttons and text. And now when I press pause, you can see it looks way nicer. It feels like it is paused, you know, because we fade out kind of the background and we have it blurred, and it does really sell the effect. Now for this, I also like to do it for the main menu, but not for all of it, just for kind of this part. So I can just add an image and you set this to be full screen and set the tint to be, you know, kind of nearly opaque, and put the alpha to be 0.5. But then I can, you know, change this to be background, put it at the top, and then just go and crop it, okay? So I can kind of crop it like this and crop it like this, and now we only have kind of this part to be the main menu, which looks really cool. And now we can just add the blur, right, with the same parameters, right? Also like this, with a blur strength of, I think it was 3, put it at the top, and then we can kind of copy this little things, right? So maybe we can, you know, make it like this values, right? We can round it up to, I don't know, like this and like this, right? So they're the same. And I'm gonna copy this and paste this on here, sorry, not on top but to the right, and we can add some offset, and now we have it, you know, perfectly fine. So if I go back to the level of the main menu, I can press play and we have like this. Now why did it go bigger? That's because of the anchors. So we need to go back here, and on the background, the anchors now are actually gonna be on the center, because now if the window expands, this will expand. But now because it's at the center, it will no longer expand. So you can see now it is great. So cool, now we have pretty much the main menu set up with play option and exit. For now, options doesn't work, but we can exit the game, we can play the game, and it will go ahead and load up the main level, which is our desert. We can play around, don't worry about the shadows of the engine. We can press escape, it will pause the game. We can resume, we can also press escape to resume, or go back to the main menu, and everything will work correctly. So that's it, guys. If you found this tutorial helpful, I would really appreciate it if you like the video and subscribe to my channel. I have lots of Unreal Engine 5 videos and tutorials, so check them out. Remember that you have access to the private files through Patreon or YouTube members. Check out my new course with Game Dev TV on how to make a stealth game in Unreal Engine. Join my Discord server if you haven't already. Follow me on my socials. And now, yes, with all that said, bye.